A long time ago, as the legend goes, a band of adventurers made camp for the night. One was set out to keep watch, but fell asleep only to be awakened by the screams of his party members being torn apart in the dying light of their campfire. It could have been a pack of wolves or any other random monster, but in fear, that one that was to keep watch left his party behind as he crawled inside his bag of holding in an attempt to hide. Over the years, he would become known as the Bagman. Adding to the legend, it is said that he has access to every bag of holding out there, that he can move between them, and that he has been searching for his way home ever since. Other legends state that he will pull others in, possibly in hopes that whatever is keeping him in that extra-dimensional space will release him if he finds an appropriate replacement. It is also said that he will sometimes take an item that someone has placed into their bag of holding, or that he will leave an item. As the years went by, the legend of the Bagman grew, but about 1 year ago, this very month, a group of adventurers happened across the Bagman and discovered that some of the legends were true. Making camp. One party member was elected to keep watch. Unlike the legend of old, he stayed awake and alert, but didn't pay any attention at all to the bag of holding that his companion was using as a pillow. From the opening, a scrawny hand emerged, and in a flash of an instant, the sleeping warrior was pulled into that bag of holding. Acting quickly and alerting the rest of the party, they were able to keep the bag of holding open long enough for the rest of them to enter the Bagman's domain. They found themselves in a large padded space, something extra-dimensional that would take them to other bags of holding searching for a way out. They came to the conclusion that the Bagman was searching for his way home, but why he would drag adventurers in with him, they could not figure that out. From the shadows, they would see the Bagman move, stalking them. Of course, they found plenty of treasure and magic items within this space, as well as odd trinkets and useless items of broken tools and other little items. Eventually, they would find their way out, but not without questions. Questions that we are going to try to answer today. Of course, who knows what additional questions may pop up. GameMasters here. Now, should anyone want to run their game through the first level adventure, or for the first adventure rather, I've got that listed over on my Patreon. It's free for all members, as is today's second adventure. The first adventure ended with the party exiting the bag of holding, and this is where we have two possible options. The first adventure's tagline was, "He's looking for a way home. You're coming with him." The second adventure's tagline is, "He found his way home." Now, you'll notice that there is a stark difference in the art between last year and what I've used this year. I'm not going to lie. Last year I was toying with Midjourney and its generative AI. I'm not going to hide from the past, and obviously it was generated. While I've got it here for historical reference and context, I think that a lot of folks will be happy to hear that I'm no longer using any generative AI for my art. I haven't in a very long time, and I'm committed to not using it in the future. For the second adventure, I commissioned this new piece from Jeff Witty of JeffWittyArt, someone who has done illustrations and artwork for some pretty big RPG pieces like Eldritch Gits and OSR Cthulhu Noir book from Broken Rat Games. He recently did illustrations in the Tales from Elsewhere Clock World that was successfully funded on Kickstarter, and from Gaming Honors, he did some works in the Midlife Monster Manual, and of course, he did the Bagman for this video. If you'd like to check out more of his works, I'm going to leave links for Jeff Witty down in the description. Now, finding his way home, the Bagman finding his way home, the Bagman 2 can take place either directly after the first adventure, in which the players, while they can find their way out of that extra-dimensional space, will see that they have exited into the middle of a rundown village, or should you want to play this part 2 as a separate adventure, perhaps you ran the first adventure part 1 last year when it came out, but if you wanted to run part 2 as a separate adventure, the player's characters can simply run across the village, the rundown village, through their normal day-to-day play. Either way, this village is the Bagman's home, and it is full of secrets. Long ago, the village of Hollowmere was a bustling and lively trading outpost. Now, only splintered wood and broken chimneys remain. Most folks stay well away from it, as recently strange lights have been seen at night. Lanterns can be seen burning in empty houses from a distance, only to disappear upon approach. Fog hangs heavy throughout the immediate area, and occasionally a figure can be seen wandering the ruins. The villagers that once lived there are long dead, but it is evident that someone, or something, is here. The party may be drawn to Hollowmere by rumor, curiosity, or possibly the hope of looting whatever may still be up for the taking, but instead they will find themselves walking through the memory of a place that simply refuses to die. For adventure hooks, a crafty DM can either continue from the first adventure, as we previously mentioned, or the party can hear a tale of a ruined town that appears sometimes in the fog at dusk. They may hear faint whispers when traveling that says, "Home. I need to go home." Or, for those that need solid intrigue, perhaps a scholar hires the party to investigate minor disturbances that seem to be centered on that ruined village. Either way, whatever hook you choose to use is left up to you. In fact, if you can come up with a fun hook to get the players to the ruined village of Hollowmere, share it down in the comments. But once they have made it to the ruined village, they will find that it is in total ruin. It looks as if the elements have had their way for a good number of years. Water damage from decades of rain have destroyed roofs, splintered in the wooden floors. Windows have long been shattered. Yet, at a closer inspection, it appears that some of the framework has been recently built upon. One dwelling looks to have a fully intact door. Another, while it's got a broken bed, the pillow looks relatively clean. Another home has a broken dresser, but two of the drawers look to be in near pristine condition. Inside can be found two undamaged trinkets. Now, what those are going to be left up to the dungeon master. Little things like this stick out in an otherwise broken down village. It's as if someone is trying to repair and build back the village. Through the exploration, it should not be difficult for the party to deduce that it's the Bagman that is the one trying to build back, but the reasons are kind of elusive. As nightfall grows near, a thick fog begins to form, and the village subtly changes. For a brief moment, the entire village appears whole, before shifting back to its state of ruin. But in this shift, the buildings have transformed, albeit still in ruins, but they have transformed into a more solid form of what they used to be. There is a weaver's shop where looms move on their own, weaving shapes that resemble faces. Looking closer, and the party sees that these things are weaving threads of plainer silk, strands of space and time itself. Another building, the general store, is now stocked with goods, but they're rotten and decayed. But there's one item on that shelf that is very much new. It could be a small item that once belonged to one of the characters, perhaps a potion of healing that's been unopened, or an unread scroll. Perhaps a new dagger, or a coil of rope that they purchased that otherwise went missing in the recent past. As the characters move through the village at night, a dropped item will vanish only moments later for it to fall from above them. Spatial distortions can also cause them to enter a building as a party, only to end up in a totally different building individually. There are 11 buildings in all, and I'll provide this map in the download over on my Patreon. I'll leave links to all of that down in the description, but to make things even more scary, there are 5 total zombies that can appear anywhere in the village. Roll a d12 for each zombie, and that would be the corresponding building that they can appear in. On a roll of a 12, however, it's going to appear on the outside of the building. Of course, if you want to plop them all down in the same area, by all means, feel free to do that too. Occasionally, a flash of dull blue light is going to emanate from a broken window, only to find no source of that light once the party investigates. What the party will find is things within that specific dwelling have become more solid and repaired. The broken bed frame will be rebuilt, and a fresh enough blanket will now be neatly folded on top, along with what was just that pillow from before. At a time of the DM's choosing, however, an orange glow will begin to form in the village's center. Upon approaching, the party will see a figure illuminated by a glowing fire, hunched close to it, his back to the party. His skin is gray and taut. He appears to be cooking something over the fire and will reach into a nearby bag and pull out what might be spices. He hums gently to himself as he seasons whatever it is that he's cooking. He then reaches into the bag again and pulls out enough plates for himself and the party members. He speaks in a low and raspy voice.
"Dinner is almost ready,"
he says, without turning.
"You're just in time."
This is the Bagman. The Bagman won't attack unless threatened. He speaks with confusion and longing. His voice is low, raspy, yet soft. He sounds tired and distant. Should the party flat out attack, you can use his updated stat block, which again I'll provide in the download link, and place that in the description. He will defend himself, but at the first opportunity, he will climb into his bag of holding. Should any of the players try to follow, you can use the map from the first adventure, but should they not, the Bagman will appear in a random building. Again, roll a d12 like you did with the zombies, and any characters passing an investigation check can hear him clanging away, repairing something. Getting close to the building that the Bagman is working in, and they will see another dull flash of blue light, only then to find the building empty. The Bagman noticed them and is more or less on the run. There's a 25% chance that on any given approach, the Bagman won't notice them, and should the fight continue, he will draw them into an area of thick fog, a fog that's almost opaque. But I'll address that in a little bit later here in the video. If, however, the party joins the Bagman around the campfire for dinner, through conversation they will learn that he believes that he can fix the village. He just has to find the right pieces. That's why he takes things from other bags. He's been searching for years to find the right objects. A doll that belonged to the little girl in the house over there. A small mirror that belonged to the woman that lived in the house over there. A painting of a family that once hung above the mantel in the house that way. That if he can replace everything that was destroyed that night and rebuild the village, then perhaps everyone else will return. He also knows the party members by name, as if he has been a part of their adventures from the very start. It can be deduced that he has been at this, the task of rebuilding the village, for hundreds of years, and that it would likely take hundreds more, a time that the Bagman may have due to his transformation and access to the bags of holding, but less likely for the adventurers because time for mortals is somewhat limited, of course, give or take, depending on their race. He won't refuse the help, but will admit that he has no idea how the party can help, nor can he provide to the players a list of what he is looking for. He only knows that what he has found so far has been items placed within bags of holding, and this is why he will take that needed item and replace it with something he doesn't need. At this point, the fog grows thicker, almost opaque, and this is where we can merge in the thickening of the fog from previously if the party had instead chosen to fight the Bagman. The broken dwellings flicker, one moment decayed as if they have been, the next moment they're made whole. Faint, eerie humming drifts through the village, not coming from any specific source. The area shudders, like a breath drawn by something vast and unseen. Then everything is different. The fog dissolves and everything is bathed in a dull blue hue. This is Hollowmere, not as ruins, but as a memory. The air is clean, the well is full, torches burn bright. The players are now in a memory echo, a reflection of the night Hollowmere died. Shadows of villagers flicker about their routines, unaware of the adventurers. It's a beautiful sight, but it's eerie, and it's wrong. Should the party attempt to interact with the environment, touch objects, cast spells, talk to the shadows of the villagers, the illusion of the memory distorts. Open doorways will collapse into rips of space, but the memory's reality would peel away to reveal an infinite darkness between planes. Moans emanate from that darkness, lots of moans, as if an army of undead was ready to be unleashed. At this point, the Bagman becomes aware that his illusion is faltering. When the players joined him for dinner or pursued him through the village, he will eventually plead for help. He speaks softly, mimicking what he has said before.
"I can fix it. I just need time. I just need the right..."
And his voice will trail off. If the players attempt to reason with him, he reveals his far greater fear.
"If I stop, If I let go, I'll lose them again. I cannot lose them again.
The grip of reality was lost on the Bagman years ago. While he seems to have a sense of reasoning for what he is doing, it should be obvious that it is a lost cause. He has his memory, everything bathed in the faint blue glow of what the village once was, and perhaps with enough time, centuries perhaps, he may accomplish his goal of rebuilding parts of the physical village of Hollowmere. He has no way to prevent that passage of time, however, from ruining what he has cobbled together. Once he realizes this, his broken mind is going to shatter, and he will lash out at the party. Only now, he won't shy away from making use of everything his stat block has, as he feels he has nothing left to lose. This is the true horror of the adventure. He is a victim of his own mind and his own memories. From here, the adventurers can go one of two ways. Either they can choose to help the Bagman, or they can confront him. Should they attempt to help him rebuild, even for just a few hours, they themselves will begin to lose time. Each passing day in Hollowmere becomes a month in the outside world. It's even possible that even decades will have passed by in what otherwise appears to them to have been just a week of rebuilding, or 2 weeks at most. The exact nature of the rebuilding is up to the DM, but at my table, I had them do some side quests to gather materials, wood, nails, hammers, crafting equipment, stuff like that. But should the dwellings be rebuilt, the Bagman will smile softly and say,
"You see? It's working. I just needed the right company."
While the villagers themselves have yet to return, the Bagman will justify that by saying that they need time to see that things have returned to normal. When the party finally leaves the village, they will find that many years have passed in the outside world, and that occasionally their bag of holding will yield a trinket from Hollowmere, items that they have never had before. A child's doll, a comb, a small mirror. However, should the party confront him, and he attacks with everything he has, and if I'm being honest, this was the path that my table went down, undead begin to rise, zombies, skeletal folks, specters, and a grand melee battle begins with the Bagman being the core fight. In short, the Bagman looks to protect what he has rebuilt, but he sees the characters as enemies that are trying to tear it all down. He blames the party for bringing the undead, and while the undead will fight the party, they will also attack the Bagman as well. But he ultimately believes that the adventurers brought the undead, that they are the ones that caused this to happen. His warped memory twists their presence into guilt.
"You brought them here again. You always bring death," he says.
And remember that. I'm going to bring it up again towards the end of this video. The Bagman lashes out, desperately trying to save Hollowmere. This moment should be presented as both heartbreaking and terrifying, as the Bagman is trying to fight off ghosts of the past and the living at once. Positioned at the center of the village, the faint orange embers of the fire continue. Flickers of memory bathed in blue illuminate the area. The village can appear restored in one moment, then as ruins in the next. The buildings themselves almost seem to phase in and out of time. Each round, roll a d6. On 1 or a 2, one of the buildings flickers and becomes solid and rebuilt until the next round, providing cover or even blocking the line of sight. On a roll of a 3 or 4, a rift will open where one of the buildings stood, and any creature or player in a 5-foot radius of that rift must succeed a DC 15 wisdom save, or they lose the round's action as they relive that night in which undead slaughter the entire village in a time loop. On a roll of 5 or 6, another undead is added to the fight, wherever you want it to go. The battle is over when either all the undead are defeated, or if the Bagman is defeated, or if the entire party perishes. Should the entire party fall, well, then it's game over and time to roll up new characters. Should the undead all be taken out, the Bagman will fall to his knees. His ragged breathing slows, his gray skin seems to lighten for just a brief moment, and he speaks.
"We did it. They are safe now."
For the time, he looks at the adventurers with genuine recognition.
"You were never the ones I needed to fight, were you?"
He asks. He wanders towards the center of the village where the embers still smolder and reaches for his bag. Opening it, there is a faint orange glow coming from within. He looks back to the party one last time.
Thank you for letting me go home.
And he steps into the bag. The embers fade to dark coals. The blue glow from the village dims to complete darkness. When the morning comes, Hollowmere is gone. Only an open field of wildflowers remain. A single bag of holding rests where the fire pit was. But should the players defeat the Bagman before the undead are taken down, his body will collapse and fold inward, like he's being sucked into nothingness. The faint blue lights from the village intensify until blinding. When it subsides, the village begins to crumble at a rapid state of decay. The undead that remain each fall into piles of dust. Then silence. Where the Bagman fell is a patch of earth, and at its center is a bag of holding. Regardless if the undead fell first or the Bagman fell, what happens with the bag of holding that remains will be the same. As the party sees the bag of holding sitting there, they notice, just for a split second, the faint outline of a handprint pressing against the inside. But this handprint is smaller, thinner than the Bagman's. Something else has survived inside. Opening it reveals the bag to be empty. Weeks later, miles away from where Hollowmere stood, a scholar is cataloging ancient ruins, a village that has clearly seen better days. Under one of the excavated floorboards, he finds a cracked portable hole, yet its edges have been severely burnt. But the blackened void from within glows with a pale blue glow. He opens it, and within a whispering wind escapes, and for just a brief moment, a thin gray arm reaches out from the void towards the scholar's throat. The scholar drops the hole in terror, yet when it lands on the ground, it is empty. But a voice whispers, "You took him, but you never took me." And that, my friends, will be revealed next year with the Bagman 3 Origins. Now, it should go without say that anyone running this adventure is free to adjust it and make it their own for how it will best work at their table. I'm not a fan of railroading players, and what I've presented here was purely a sandbox adventure based on the choices that my players chose. Of course, I jotted down notes with alternative paths because, as any good DM knows, players are going to always throw a wrench into whatever it is that you may have had planned. To that end, I have some questions for you all. But first, I want to humbly thank everyone for watching, and I especially need to thank my YouTube members and Patreon supporters for their contributions to the channel. Their support made it so that I didn't need to take on a sponsored ad for today's video, and I think that we should all give them a thumbs up down and below for that. As I mentioned, if anyone is interested in this adventure, I'm going to leave a link to it down in the description. Again, it's going to be free for all Patreon members, but it will include both the adventure outline itself as well as the maps. I'll also leave a link to the original Bagman adventure that we did a year ago and its map as well. The Bagman has become a favorite of mine and my table. He's got a tragic origin, something that we've hinted at today's video, but I can assure you that it deviates from the traditional legends, what they say about him. It's purely my interpretation of his origin, but if that's something that you want to explore more of, be sure to subscribe and have a little patience as I drop that one on next year's Halloween. As for the questions that I have for you, what do you think still lives inside the bag of holding? The thing that has a smaller handprint than the Bagman's? And what do you think it was that was reaching out from the burnt portable hole? In your party, do you think that you would fight the Bagman or try to save him? Let me know what your answers would be down in the comments, and until next our paths cross, may you not find yourself trapped inside the bag of holding.